Okay, it's the last days of December, and we're still enjoying the fresh heirloom tomatoes that we grew this summer. We canned those, so they're no longer fresh, but they taste just so much better than what we can buy at the grocery store. So right now I have about a pound of ground beef browning. I'm going to take that ground beef here in just a second and drain all the fat off of it. We love to make a pasta sauce. It's one of our favorite things to do with our heirloom tomatoes. So follow along here, and at the end of this little vlog, I'll have the recipe on the screen so that you can pause it and snip it. Okay, now that the ground beef is drained, we're going to go ahead and add this into the pot that we're going to put our other ingredients into. Alright, you could chop each of these vegetables, but I kind of cheat a little bit here, if you want to call it that. I prefer to save a little time and use a little mini food processor that we've used for years. You'll notice that I'm saving my vegetable scrap. Being the gardener that I am, these vegetable scraps will go out to my compost bin. I don't waste those. I'm going to use a whole green pepper. This recipe is one that I started. I actually found the recipe on the back of a Heinz ketchup bottle when I first started cooking out on my own. And that probably, I hate to say it, was probably over 40-something years ago. But of all the spaghetti sauce I've ever eaten, I've never found one that tastes like it's been simmered all day when it's not. All right. I know this looks like a lot of green pepper, but trust me, once this cooks down, it's going to give it a good flavor, and you're not going to notice this pepper as much. Now, I'm going to turn this back on about a medium heat now that I have my vegetables, and I'm going to add probably about a tablespoon, maybe two, of a very good extra virgin olive oil. We find we love the flavor of the olive oil, especially in a pasta dish. The next thing I'm going to do is add in my spices. And I have here, as I said, my recipe came off of a Heinz ketchup bottle about 40 plus years ago. This is about probably maybe a half to 3/4 a cup of Heinz ketchup. I have some, this is the oregano. I have some Italian seasoning, and this is basil and salt. And of course, I'm going to add some cracked black pepper. All right, I'll be right back with you. Okay, as you can see, I now have my spices and the ketchup in here. So what I'm going to do on this medium heat is stir this so that it does not stick. I'll continue to stir it till my vegetables get good and done and tender, and that'll take just a little while, probably about 3 minutes. And in this pot we have our pasta water that is a gentle boil. We'll turn it up so it's more of a rolling boil before we turn in and the pasta gets put in. And if you'll notice, it's very green. That comes from the basil that I added. As I stated, it's more like a basil tea. But remember, we want to layer flavors so that this dish is just over the top. And this is just a very good way to cook pasta. There's no oil, there's simply a little salt and about a tablespoon of ground basil. Maybe you don't like basil. If you don't, leave it out. My family loves it. Okay, now it's time to add the star of this dish, and that's this quart of home canned plain tomatoes. These tomatoes were heirloom tomatoes that we grew out in the historic Cumberland homesteads, and you can't tell by looking at the jar because everything looks red. There was some Dr. Wyche's tomatoes in this. There was some black cream tomatoes in it. There was some Black Beauty. We didn't cull any of them. We just mixed them all together and they came up with this beautiful color. So let's enjoy some of the tomatoes that we grew this summer. Okay, I've added the jar of tomatoes to the meat sauce. And at this point, I'm going to start just putting just pure tomato paste. If you go back and look at my YouTube page, I did can some tomato paste. As I said in that episode, never again will I try to can tomato paste. I took about 2 or 3 gallons worth of tomatoes and ended up with about 1.5 pints of tomato paste. Oh, it has a good flavor and it looks good, but it was just too much trouble. That I put in there is approximately a 12-ounce can of tomato paste. And I'm going to stir that in. I now have this on low, and we're just going to let it sit here and simmer while our pasta noodles are cooking. And trust me, it's going to taste like it has sat on the stove and simmered all day long. I just wish you could smell the onions, the peppers, the garlics, the spices, and the tomatoes. It's just a fantastic sauce. All right, let's taste this sauce. Perfect. I don't need to add any more salt or any more pepper to it. So it's time now to turn up the pasta water and get it boiling a little better, and I will add in, we're going to put in some macaroni noodles. Okay, now it's time to mix my sauce with my noodles. You'll notice that my noodles have almost all of the basil rinsed off. So now I'm just going to pour my sauce over it and stir it up. Now this is the same sauce that we use in all of our pasta dishes, from lasagna to spaghetti. This time, of course, it's just macaroni and a red pasta sauce. But I'll tell you, it's an absolutely wonderful pasta sauce. One of the best I think I have ever had, and I have eaten a lot of pasta. Pasta is one of my favorite dishes. All right, there's my pasta dish. It's finished.